Yoga Kula to this class on active imagination. It just feels so timely for me that we are discussing a practice that helps us connect with the unconscious and its love of the dramatic while the drums of war are sounding in our country. So, my daughter came home with a story yesterday. She was really disturbed that one of her friends was confused by the fact that some Americans wanted to send humanitarian aid to civilians. And my daughter was realizing the disconnect, that you're at a Christian school and we talk about Jesus and the parable of the Good Samaritan, and if you see your enemy lying by the side of the road wounded, you do something about it. So this is a girl that if she saw a mother and child get shot on the street here in reality, she would call 911 and would have lifelong PTSD if she couldn't save those people. But because this is at a distance and she's hearing stories that say, these people are evil, we are the good guys, somehow in identifying herself as on the good team and those people as on the bad team, as a 16-year-old girl, she has genocidal, murderous agreement with kill 'em all, which is what is dangerous about the unconscious. We can tap into those stories, and what is evil and heinous, we can agree to. And there are forces out there, like the world, flesh, and the devil, that can pull us into those stories and use us for evil, and the whole while we'll be thinking we're doing something righteous. So I feel like this is part of the reason that Marshall Rosenberg warned us about the right, wrong, good, bad kind of labels. He said, we can't handle them. If we think someone is bad, they deserve punishment. They deserve the ultimate punishment. You can kill them, you can beat them, you can take their children, and they deserve it because they're wrong or they're bad. It disconnects us from seeing the reality of another human being. And I really like the quote that I sent out this week. How readily can we step out of the story inside us, the story in the collective media right now that is being told to us? How readily can we step out of the story back into the real moment of aliveness? There is a quiet spot at the center of each hurricane. What am I saying? Where we can replace chaos with simple awareness and attention. And that is what we are going to help to do in this class. And I think Robert A. Johnson was wrong when he said we need to be careful with these practices. We might go too deep. We need to be careful of not having a practice to go deep, become acquainted with the unconscious, become acquainted with the stories it plays out and the dramatic things it wants to do, so that we can do that on paper and get to know what hooks us, what draws us in, where our Achilles heel is, so that we don't go out into real life and live out those unconscious dramas, all the while doing probably terrible evil and not even noticing, because in our story, we're the good guy. So I thought what we do today is that we would evoke emotion by listening to some music. So we have some sad music, some fear-inducing music, some angry music, and some happy music. And then, get ourselves stirred up in those feelings. Notice what images come to mind, what story and plot lines, maybe some memories will come to mind. And then we'll do yoga to kind of step back from those images and those emotions and get in a place of more self-control and connection with reality. And then we'll move on to the next one. So I hope it turns out to be a good class. So for our first emotion, we're going to be looking at sadness. And for that, I would like to do a mudra. And so this is called Karuna Mudra, and it's for compassion. So we hold up the right hand, place the left fingertips at the base of the right fingertips, and then the hands kind of loosely come together. The left thumb comes against the right thumb. The left hand aims towards our hearts, like we're extending compassion to ourselves, and the right hand faces out to extend compassion to others. So we're going to sit holding this mudra while we listen to some sad emotional music. Ooh, it was hard not to start bawling. And I was reminded of listening to fireworks go off when I was a single mother, and I would cry every 4th of July just having compassion for all the mothers who are in a war zone and just not able to protect their children from what was going on around them, and just every firework was just making me think of that. So I definitely feel like that Karuna Mudra like opens the heart to be able to feel like suffer with other people, that word compassion. But one of the things that I know for me with sadness is it makes us close in and get kind of droopy, and we lose a sense of power and hope and like what we can do. So we're going to work against this slump by holding on to the knees and doing our cat-cow here. So inhale, arch the back, and exhale, round. Inhale, breathing through the nose. Exhale, also breathing through the nose with that slight constriction at the back of the throat. I should have gotten some tissues. Just starting to open the heart to get some movement into the body that works against sinking into the sadness, sinking into the it's hopeless and the kind of stories that that evokes. There's nothing I can do, we're powerless, those kind of things. Last time, inhale, arch, opening the heart to possibilities, and exhale, round, squeezing out all the sadness, and coming to neutral and bringing the right arm off to the right with the shoulder leaning back. And we're going to reach the left arm up and over as we sink the left sit bone into the ground. Gaze is up, counterpose to depression. So start inhale, and then on exhale, sweep down and around and come up on the other side. Just getting some gentle movement. That kind of gets us out of the I just want to go to bed and hide under the covers sort of energy that comes with sadness. Not pushing ourselves too hard, but just waking ourselves up out of that paralysis and that heaviness. Bringing in some breath and some vitality. One more time each side. And back to center. And I'm going to spread the legs out wide, taking up a little more room, and bring the hands into a fist, and we're going to reach and stir, kind of waking up the energy. But one thing this also does is it's rocking the sacrum. So I don't know if you can feel at the base of the spine, that big bony plate of the sacrum is rocking back and forth with this motion. And that is very soothing to our nervous system. So we don't want to push past the sadness like I don't need anything and nobody else needs anything either, and get kind of an ethic of hardness about that. But we do want to soothe ourselves and nurture ourselves when we're sad. And then other direction. And if that motion feels too big for you, you could just give yourself a little hug and rock the sacrum that way. I don't know if I went back to the first way of going in a circle because this feels awfully natural. Do a couple more in the opposite direction. And we'll come into table pose to do some more cat-cow, because that starts to open the heart, so we're not in that contraction. So we'll inhale, lift the tailbone, lift the heart, and exhale, drop the tailbone in the head, pressing into the floor to separate the shoulder blades. And inhale, arch, and exhale, round. And we're going to increase the movement here. So here's our inhale. And exhale, once we round, we're going to pull back into child's pose. And then inhale is coming up kind of in that cat. But then we're going to, I need to plant my hands like a handprint forward. We're going to drop the hips, open the heart, open the throat, lift the gaze. Come into kind of a lazy up dog to start to open the heart. And then exhale, round and pull back. Inhale, lift and open the heart. And just flow from one end of the mat to the other. Gently coaxing ourselves out of that story that there's nothing we can do, it's hopeless, why bother, don't even try. Just go to bed and stay there. And to open our heart to the possibilities that hope can return. Things can heal. God has a plan. And one more time each. And pull back. And rise up. I'm going to step my right foot forward. So I'm in a low lunge. And we're going to inhale, swoop the arms up, and keep them in that big kind of victory shape. And we're lifting the heart, lifting the gaze, and imagine we're receiving the light of God's love on the inhale, and exhale, it comes and rests in our heart. So inhale up, draw in all that love and care, and exhale to the heart. So inhale up. I was thinking of Psalm 107. We cry out to the Lord in our trouble, and He delivers us from all our distress. And one more time. Inhale. Crying out for what we need, what others need, what breaks our heart. And exhale. Bring His love into your heart so that you have something to pass on to others. Left foot forward, same thing. Sometimes it feels nice to just kind of climb the upper body up by pressing into that thigh, if you like that. And sometimes tucking the back toe can feel like it's nice for balance, or flat foot. But notice how the knee feels with each position. And if this back knee is needing a little more push, you can fold your mat. So inhale up, lifting up all our needs to the Lord. And exhale, bringing His grace into our hearts. Inhale. So sadness comes from loss and hurt, like something's missing, right? We need something from Him. And exhale, drawing it down into the heart, what He provides. Inhale, reach up. lovely. All right, we're going to move on, Sophia. So I'm going to kneel. That feels good to my body. If you want to sit in another comfortable position for our fear music. So we are going to shiver and shake while we're listening to this. I have a dog. We live in the country and people shoot off guns practicing. Didn't realize we'd leave the inner city where there was guns for a different kind of guns in the country. But our dog will quake and it freaks my children out. They're thinking, oh, he's really suffering, but he's releasing the stress with that shivering and shaking. So one of the things with fear is we can freeze. And so just that little bit of vibration can get us out of that frozen state. Wow, that worked. So fear can be very focusing, right? It's hard to get our mind unstuck from fear. That's why the devil plays that what if so much with us, right? He can fill your mind with it all day long. And I really felt like that quivering and shaking, it gave me another focus. Like I could feel my muscles moving and I wasn't so into the fear, which is nice. So we're going to do something that feels like a power pose, but because a power pose is so static, right? Being still maybe isn't the best thing in a fearful state because that'll feel a lot like freeze. So I thought we'd have the feet wide and inhale, reach up and around. I like to bend my knees when I do that because then I don't rib flare and strain my low back. So inhale up, exhale down. And it's kind of like that that victory pose with the arms, which is a power pose, but we're also adding breath and movement. So fear can also set off our fight or flight and compel us to do unconscious action, right? Like, I'm just going to run away from this. I'm just going to start battling before we've even had a good thought about what our plan should be, right? So we want to get clean and clear. Like Peter said, be calm for the sake of our prayers, right? We don't want to just act out of fear. We have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And we want to get to that sound mind and have our action come from that, not from our brainstem. All right. Shedding over here. Now we're going to do some punching. So one of the things that when we're triggered and we go into that fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system is often running, right? And all the blood and energy is going to go to our extremities so that we can run away with our feet or fight with our hands. And it's leaving the core, right? So our rest and digest, anything that needs to happen for healing gets put on hold. Like, first we need to survive. So we're going to do some punching because it invigorates the heart. So even though it's using the extremities, it's going to bring that energy back to the core, and you'll feel that. So I'm going to make loose fists, and this will be our inhale with our right arm out and our left arm back. So you can bend the knees a little bit, get a rhythm going. I just switched which one I'm inhaling and exhaling on. But feel how that starts to make the heart the hub of this movement. And burn off some of that fight or flight energy. Most of the time, what we're afraid of is a thought. We do not need to literally run from a thought. We need to literally run if a car is going to hit us, but we don't need to activate our sympathetic nervous system for thoughts and stories. We need to come back to reality. Find that eye of the storm. Find that heart center. Where we can find our courage. Core means heart. Courage. Get heart-centered. And really feel those feet grounded, right? We're solid. We're not small and weak and helpless and hopeless. And tap into the power that's available to us. We can root into the presence of the Lord. And let His love work through us. All right. Bring the hands to the heart. I'm hoping your heart rate is up a little bit. You can feel that heart pounding. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel how when we take up more space, we feel more powerful. So sadness and fear are hard because they make us feel small. They make us feel like there's nothing we can do. So we want to feel that grounded, rooted, powerful sense coming to counteract that. And one of the things that helps us feel that kind of strength is having a strong core. So we are going to come down and do plank pose. So you can come up with the shoulders over the wrist. And we're trying to have the hips as high as the shoulder blades. So adjust the feet till the back is like a flat table or reaching back through the heels. And then engage that low belly, feeling it pull up and in. You might get a little more of that tremoring going on. If this feels hard on your wrists and you want to come down to the forearms, you can do a forearm plank. Notice how if the hips drop a little lower, still kind of in line with the shoulder blades, but not too high, how that low belly engages. It's kind of a power center for us to counteract that feeling of fear that our stories can put us in. And how can we get out of the story and into the reality? God help us not to live out unconscious stories. And drop the knees. We're going to do fish pose, which is also good for fear. So we're going to come onto the back. They say this pose cures all ills, and I think it's because of the thymus, which helps us activate our immune system. So we're having the legs come together, toes will be pointed. And we're going to roll so we can place palms down, hands under our seat to kind of hold the arms down and help them be steady and rooted. And then we're going to press into the elbows, lift up through the heart, drop the head back, crown of the head kisses the ground. There's no weight bearing in the head. The weight is on the elbows. And the arms, lifting that thymus, opening the throat. And you just stay here as long as you can. Don't turn the head. Just breathing into this pose to get out of a fear state. And then when you're ready, roll onto the back of the head, release the arms, widen the feet, and pause in Shavasana for a moment. Believe it or not, Shavasana is good for fear. So if you feel knocked down by fear, just stay on the floor for a little bit. In Shavasana, you can tell it would be very grounding. But it helps to awaken higher places in the body rather than those low places that are so fearful. And after fish pose, Shavasana is always nice so that you don't have that feeling of blood pressure weirdness. So we're waiting for our blood to kind of equalize. Heart rate to steady. Nice. And you can bend the knees and roll off to the side to come up into a standing pose. We're moving on to anger. Now, anger is something we kind of love because when we're sad and fearful, we feel like we don't have energy. And at least anger makes us feel powerful, maybe in an artificial way. Like you can feel invincible or like you have a cause with great meaning or whatever. But I thought we'd do some authentic movement with our angry music and just see what it feels like to move around in that. Gotta love that ending, the huh. Woo! So, I don't know how you were inspired to move, but I definitely felt that kind of sassy, you want a piece of me kind of thing coming through in my body, and how much delight I have in that kind of make you feel powerful movement. And I think that's why so much of the time we cover up sadness with anger. We cover up fear with anger and violence. It's because there's something yummy about feeling big and powerful. So, and there's something sloppy about anger, right? It just wants to spray itself around. It's got a swagger about it that's just kind of sloppy. So, we are going to be doing some poses to bring that power into precision, like we are choosing our actions. So we are going to come into a high lunge. So my right foot is forward, left foot is back, and I have my back knee bent. I'm on the ball of that back foot. So find your balance. And then we're going to reach the right arm forward, left arm back. This will be our inhale. Exhale, hands come to the hips. Inhale, reach left arm forward, right arm back. So you can kind of feel the power in this, but not the spraying yourself all around. No sloppiness. It takes focus. And you can feel how we're coming from the core. And we're using strong muscles. So we're engaging our power, but we're not flailing about in a reckless way, but getting focused. One more time, left. And one more time, right. And step it forward. And I like that big step forward. That feels powerful too, using those quads. And we're going to step back with our right foot. And it feels more stable if the feet are at least hip width apart. If you need to move that back leg a little more off to the right so that you can get a wider base, that's fine too. And so our inhale is turning the torso to the right. I'm keeping my gaze the whole time forward. So here's our inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. After all that heat created with our authentic movement, it's nice to put it to work doing something real, precise, intentional. I'm not going to get on Facebook and yell at everybody and think we're changing the world, right? We're going to take intentional action, God-centered and inspired action when we're angry. Jesus didn't say don't be angry. He said be angry and sin not. And that is the challenge, isn't it? Because when we're angry, we kind of don't care. And that big step forward. Alrighty. So, of course, we had to do a warrior pose. So I'm going to just face this long side of the mat and switch things up. So I have my right foot forward like it's 12 o'clock, my left foot angled in, or it can be perpendicular, but it's not angled back. So angled in a little bit, and this knee doesn't go past the ankle. So kind of adjust your feet, and we'll have our warrior pose, gazing out over the middle finger. And then we're going to turn this into a humble warrior. So interlace the fingers behind the back and bow so that the torso comes to the inner edge of this front thigh. And then inhale, rise up, back to warrior, flip the feet in the other direction. And you might have to adjust the feet a little bit so that they're heel-heel alignment or heel-mid-arch alignment. See if you can see that big toe and second toe, and the knee isn't falling in. So here's our inhale, and then we're going to weave the fingers the opposite direction and bow. Humble warrior. And inhale, rise, and change sides. Interlace and bow. And this requires some balance and some focus, which is what we want to have when we're angry. Flip the feet. Interlace the other way. We have to be paying attention to details. I remember watching, I think it was either on Prime or Netflix, some series, a documentary series on emotion. And this woman was lamenting how anger took her over one day when she was at a party, and it wasn't the first time that it happened. And she got so enraged that she said she got tunnel vision, and all she could see was this other person that was infuriating her, and she beat the tar out of this person. Just went off, berserker rage. And she said, and then she woke up to what she was doing. And suddenly she didn't have that tunnel vision anymore. And she could see all her friends looking at her like she was a monster. And how much shame that brought her. That she had lost touch with her conscious self and had let these unconscious forces take over and do so much damage. And she didn't know how to rein it in. And that's why we need to practice. One more time each side. Maybe going a little deeper. Opposite weave of the fingers. And rise up. Okay, We're going to turn this into an archer's pose. So archer's pose is all about focus, and it's still these same warrior legs. But first we bring the torso facing forward and loose fists and thumbs up. And then we pull this left hand back as if we're pulling a bow, right? But we're gazing past the tip of the thumb. We're not going to get that tunnel vision on just the thing that's infuriating us right in front of us. We're going to look past the thumb and get that soft gaze that takes us out to the horizon, out to infinity, so that we can stay connected with a larger, important thing than just acting on our rage in the moment. Staying connected with God's presence and what He's calling us to do. And we're going to do some breath of fire, so some quick percussive exhales and passive inhales. Deep inhale, hold the breath, engage the pelvic floor, and release. So we awakened that power that's latent within us, but we're not going to run off and use it till we know what God's calling us to do, and it has a lasting value. So both hands forward, then pull the right hand back this time. So maybe sink a little deeper into that front knee, but make sure you can still see the big toe. And we'll begin that breath of fire. Deep inhale, hold and lift the pelvic floor. I hope you felt that focus. Love archer's pose for that. So, our last emotion is happiness. What could be wrong with happiness and the stories we create around it? Well, I think for one, it's that we cling. So the instant something good happens, we don't want to let go of that moment. We don't want to let the next thing happen. Remember back in the dating days when you had a lovely first date and you're planning your wedding? After that, like you instantly went into a story to try and hold on to this thing. And that story is drawing you off into actions that may not really be connected with reality. So for this section, I thought we'd listen to two songs so that we have to switch gears. We have to let go of the one happiness to flow to the next thing, letting life flow, not like clamping up around something. We have to have this or we'll lose our happiness, right? And I thought once again we'd do some authentic movement. So here we go. Let it go. Let the next thing come. Oh, those images came so easily. Were any of you on a farm where there was a creek and it was a lovely summer day and you were just enjoying the weather and the sunshine and playing in the water? Yeah. Instantly, we're in a story, right? And enjoying the story, right? But we just need to be aware that we're in a story. I'm not on a farm. I'm in my house. I'm doing yoga with you all. So we want to be able to keep our balance here in reality, even when something happy occurs. So I thought we'd do some balancing poses. So if it helps you to start with your hands on your hips, we're going to step the right foot behind the left and reach that right leg back long. And then reach the right arm up and grasp the wrist, looking up, keeping our balance, still breathing. And then hands together at the heart. Thank you, Lord, for that happiness, and I'm willing to let it go. And then step the left leg behind and reach the left arm up. And enjoy the expansion of happiness. And then let it go. Thank you, Lord. And repeat that. It helps me to keep my balance when I move the feet before the arms. So left foot first and then left arm. And that's what we need to do when we're overcome by the unconscious stories of happily ever after. Realize we're in a story. How do we keep our balance? How do we come back into reality and tune into this real moment with the Lord? And one more time each side. Thank you, Jesus, for all the happiness you give. And Lord, help us not to cling. All right, we're going to try some tree pose. So root your left foot into the ground and bring the right heel onto the lower leg of the left side. And get your balance. Find a place to gaze so that can help you. And then if you have your balance and you want to lift that foot up onto the calf muscle, you can. If you want to go higher, we want the sole of the foot up here close to the groin. No pressure ever on the knee. And when you have your balance, lift the arms up. Maybe even turn towards that knee. And back to center. And then knee forward, foot forward, down. La. Shake out that standing leg, gets a little hot. And then root down through the right foot. Left heel comes up, so the hip is rotating out. And this can be enough of a tree. You're balancing on the ball of the left foot, fixing the gaze, and just enjoying, staying steady. Or you can lift the foot a little higher on the leg, but not on the knee. Maybe coming all the way up to the top of the thigh. It's always hard depending on the kind of yoga pants you're wearing. See if you can keep the pelvis square to the front and level. And then inhaling the arms up. And if it's possible, maybe turning towards that knee. Woo. It's extra hard because you're shifting the gaze, and the gaze is part of what helps us balance. Keeping it fixed can help you stay steady. And then knee forward, foot forward. Woo! Feel the heat in that right leg. Shake it out. All right, we're going to try a little Utkatasana. Maybe you can see it better from the side. So it's chair pose. So we want our feet, these are good yoga pants for doing tree pose. That's why I chose them, but they keep shifting around on me. So we want the knees to stay in line with the ankles and moving forward. We don't want them to collapse in. So you can either have them not collapse in by bringing the toes together, heels a little bit apart, or being mindful as you sit the sit bones back that your knees stay equidistant. So I'm trying to get my ears between my upper arms and slightly curl the tailbone under. And then swan dive over, straighten the legs, come into a forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway, maybe hands are on the shins. Exhale, bow. Then sink the hips down, come into that chair pose again. And exhale, hands to the heart. Oh Lord, help us not to cling and spin off into unconscious stories when we're happy. And we'll repeat that. So inhale, sweep up, sinking the hips back. You can even lift the toes to remind yourself to bring that weight back into the heels, tucking the tailbone a little bit, and then swan dive over. I love that transition. Can we flow instead of cling? Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, bow. Inner spiraling the thighs, and then sink it back. Utkatasana again, and up with hands to the heart. Oh Lord, thank you for happiness. And Lord, help us to trust and not try and figure it out how to keep things going and create all kinds of inner drama, trying to hold on to what you freely give us over and over and over again. Your mercies are new every morning. So inhale, sink it down. Exhale, down. Inhale, up halfway. Exhale, bow. Just flowing from one pose to the next. And exhale, hands to the heart. Now we're going to turn this into a little more of a balanced pose by bringing the right ankle, gotta sink into our left foot again, across the top of the left knee. So it's above the knee. And then we're gonna sink down into that Utkatasana again. I have my hands at my heart. I have a place to gaze. Staying steady in our happiness without spinning off into unconscious stories. rise up. Ah. Once again, shake out that standing leg. Whew. And root down through the right foot. Hands together at the heart. Left ankle across the top of the right knee. And sitting back. Find that gaze point. What do we need to fix our mind on so that we can flow with reality as it is instead of clinging to something being only one certain way? And rise up. We did it. We made it to the end of our yoga class. Now, we did not do any down dogs this time. So if you want to take a little down dog before we do our usual cool down, you can. Just a nice way to stretch out the back of the legs and the calves. And then down on the back. And hug the knees in towards the chest. Begin to rock from side to side. Giving yourself a little massage. And then hands on the heads of the knees in a circle. In one direction and then the other. Lord, help us to stay connected to reality. Help us to have ways to approach the unconscious consciously instead of being swept away by its stories. Knees wide, big toes together, arch the back. Knees come together and draw in. Arch and round. Together to the chest, and you'll feel the low back flatten on the floor. Feels so good. And other direction. So open wide, low back connects. Arch away, open wide. And soles of the feet to the floor. We'll bring the right ankle across the top of the left thigh again, flexing the foot. We're going to let that fall off to the left, grasping onto the ankle with the left hand, reaching up and to the right with the right arm and turning the gaze to the right. Just a little different twist to release the back. And center the head, hoist the legs back up. Swap out left ankle across the top of the right thigh. Let that fall off to the right and grasp that ankle with the right hand and reach the left arm up and at an angle, turning the gaze. Just feel a nice stretch in that outer hip and the left waist. And center the head, hoist the legs up. We're going to turn this into a little bit of supine pigeon. You can press that thigh away or draw the right thigh in and then press the thigh away with the left elbow. Maybe rock, maybe not. That sacrum rocking, soothing the nervous system. And change legs. You can push the right thigh away or draw in the left. Maybe push the right thigh away with the elbow or release that so there's a little less stretch. Maybe rock or be still. Nice. And we have one last song. This one actually has words. for our Shavasana. So set up for Shavasana, feet as wide as the mat, flopping out, laying back with the arms out, palms up, fingers naturally curling. You can walk the shoulder blades in towards the spine to lift the heart. Bring the chest and the chin towards each other a little bit so that the forehead is higher than the chin. Close the eyes. See how your low back likes that. If you want a little relief in the low back, you can bring the soles of the feet to the edges of the mat and bring the knees in. This song is about purifying us and curing us. You'll hear that word Spanish. You'll hear cure, cure, cure. There we go.
Purifica
Deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Begin to rock the head from side to side, making small movements. Inhale the arms up overhead till the thumbs touch on the floor above you. Stretch the legs out long, pointing the toes, and come into a long stretch. Reach right fingertips and right toes away from each other, squinching in the left side body. Reach left fingertips and left toes away from each other, squinching in the right. Do a couple more of these fishy wiggles. Draw the knees in towards the chest and roll to your right side using that bottom arm as a pillow. And rest in the fetal position for a breath or two. Use the hands to press into the floor and come up into a comfortable seated position with the eyes closed. Inhale the arms up overhead till the palms come together at the heart. And Jesus, thank you for practices that help us to come back to reality, that help us to tune into where our bodies are right here and now, that give us tools for approaching those parts of ourselves that we don't know very well. That if we follow the inner dramas that they provide, we will be led astray. And Lord, help us to tell the difference between what is spirit-led and going to be a good thing to act on, and what is something arising out of an inner drama. And Lord, help us to put it on paper, bring it to prayer, and to be people who act with intention and bring goodness into this world, expanding your kingdom. In Jesus' name. Amen. Well, I'm sorry I could not be with you in person, but I really enjoyed doing this class with you. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye-bye.